One of the most fascinating subjects to me is how normal people can be made to do horrible things. Whenever we talk about police brutality in any city, not just New York, but in anywhere around the country, whether it's Abu Ghraib, whether it's Lai, which is another great source of my fascination, I want to know, what is it that causes someone to change, to succumb to a different way of thinking? And there were some wonderful studies which I commend to you. One is the Milgram Experiment from 1960, Stanley Milgram. This was the electric shock experiment where ordinary people were just made to deliver what they thought was, in some cases, paralyzing and/or lethal electric shocks pursuant to a system of incorrect answers that they thought they were participating in. Somebody with a white coat would say, "Give this person a shock." Ah! And despite screams and sometimes what appeared to be a person going into a coma, they continued because they were told to. Then the Stanford Prison Experiment of 1970 was equally as amazing 10 years later. And it showed how college students immediately, when given the roles of prisoner and warden, snapped. And all of a sudden, people who were fairly normal, friends, college students, they snapped. And especially when you put on glasses. It showed that mirrored glasses. Remember Cool Hand Luke? Remember the one, the mean, authoritarian guy on the horseback who would shoot at Luke? And whenever you put on helmets, masks, your shield, the ability to make eye contact, whenever you robotize police, whenever you make them seem like automatons, and think of this in 1033 programs, whenever you put on mirrored glasses and that Blackwater kind of a look where you distance yourself from dealing and from feeling and from enjoying any being sensate or being connected, sentient. It's true. And then My Lai, of course, I found fascinating, and the Holocaust. And there was a book entitled Ordinary Men, I'm reading it, Reserve Police Battalion 101 and the Final Solution in Poland, written by Christopher Browning. Another example of what happened. And he believes, he posited, surmised, that basically it wasn't this wild Nazi ideology that propelled people to do terrible things. It was ordinary people who wanted to just follow orders, who just went along. It's not some specific event, but he called it a cumulative radicalization. It's a very, very simple thing. And I have watched thanks to YouTube, I've watched the interviews of so many My Lai participants, Americans, and one in particular, one who, an African-American gentleman, I don't recall his name, but if you ever see them, he is just, I mean, he's fractured by this event. He ultimately takes his own life. And the reason why I say this, and the reason why I bring this up, is that whenever we talk about police brutality, the similarities are there. I'm not going to put police and pepper spraying somebody on the same level as Abu Ghraib or Nazis or Holocaust, but the process is the same. And what happens is you have a systematic, that is, a repeated, pardon me, conditioning, habituation, training, acclimation, dehumanizing, changing who they are. Those are the civilians. They don't popcorn, organic, by the way. Those are civilians. They're not to be trusted. We're here. We're putting our lives on the line, whatever the chemistry might be. And by the way, this is only seen and only observable in those cases of abuse. We all know the police, you have 40,000 police in the city of New York. Most of the time, there's no abuse. So it's a de minimis number, a fraction, a percentage. But of those, because not every German soldier was involved in the Holocaust, some. But when you are told something repeatedly, that's number one. Number two, men in particular. If ever you want to see men in a collective mindset, put them in a platoon, put them in a barracks, put them in a firehouse, put them in something where they live separate and distinct, separate and apart. They look alike, they wear a uniform, and they lose the individuality components, and they become part of the collective. Throw into the mix a goal, a lofty goal, a goal that is noble, doing something. And then we're either fighting for a particular cause, or we're fighting for a plutocratic or a polycratic, I guess, organization. Who knows? The bottom line, what I'm saying, is that since man first ambled out of the primordial ooze, mankind has never lost those animal tendencies, predispositions, predilections, those traits that we are wont to exhibit. There's nothing special. We have to realize that when you start to see an organization that views itself separate and distinct from another class, and police are different, remember this, posse comitatus is a law which prohibits a commingling, if you will, a merging of civilian law enforcement with military. There is a firewall. And when you see people, when you see certain police, not all, but certain police, lose that ability to understand that they are police officers, they are constables, they are officers of peace, versus part of a militarized us versus them, heavily armored. And by the way, I cannot say enough of the psychic and psychological effects of having helmets, Kevlar, glasses, M4, Robocop, MRAPs, military, little boy stuff. Especially, you give me a 20-year-old, you give me a 20-year-old male, I will create for you you name it. Name it. But those individuals, those young men can be trained. They're not necessarily prone to do this. I mean, they will, but 20-year-olds are not necessarily bad people. If you are in an organization where police officers are being fired left or right because they were discourteous, because they were rude, because they were caught by some civilian, with a camera saying something wrong or doing something wrong, it will change things drastically. But when it's kind of overlooked, when those involved look the other way, kind of wink at it, it changes the complexion. It is one of the most fascinating subjects of all time. And what's interesting to know, too, is as horrible as this may sound, when you have war, when war is the thing that you are trying to create, you do not want sensible, sentient, open-minded, feeling, empathic people. You want people who follow orders, who are there to kill, who will, this is not in any way, this is a necessity of war. When war starts, you must think like this. If you don't, you're going to die. You're going to die, and your side, your cause, your efforts are going to be for naught. You will lose. It's very important. And here's the good news. Through this, through the internet, your vigilance, your constitutional sentry duty, you and I are able to keep the message, the momentum going, that we are little brother, that we watch. Years ago, before the internet, it didn't matter. Police could do things, military, it didn't matter because the dissemination of information platforms were non-existent. It took forever to find out about My Lai. There were other My Lai. You think My Lai was the only one? Of course not. Of course not. But today, it's a different story. So by virtue of this instrument of truth, we as First Amendment and constitutional sentries can make sure that those individuals that we've entrusted to protect us, to follow our rules at our behest, at our order, not on their own, but our own, ours, our direction, our directive, we can make sure they're doing the job. And that's why this is glorious. Join me in the fight. Never ever apologize for demanding that people do their job and follow the rules. After all, we fight for the Constitution, not the flag. Follow me on Lionel Media, at Lionel Media on Twitter, and don't forget to follow me on Facebook at Lionel Fan Page. Sign up for my podcasts, which are there daily at lionelmedia.com. Drop me an email at lionel@lionelmedia.com if you'd like, and don't forget to subscribe to my videos on YouTube at LionelY2K. Until you and I meet again, remember this valedictory, to comment as you see fit.